what's up, witches? It's me, Luna, here with an unboxing, and I know that Fridays are usually for Oracle decks, but I'm stepping outside of that format today because this just landed on my porch, and I can't even wait long enough to slap some makeup on my face to get it out of the box. This is a true unboxing. I have not even taken the plastic off yet. The Fyodor Pavlov Tarot. The first time I saw this deck, I thought, it's another RWS iteration, and why would I need that? Well, then I watched some other unboxings or even a flip through, and ooh-wee, I love it. And then on Amazon, it was like $3 or $4 cheaper than usual, and this is not a cheap deck, so I went for it. Let's get the plastic off without ruining anything. And now you will see why I always do this off camera, but here, you get to suffer with me. Here we go. Okay. This is a US Games deck, and US Games had a sale this week too, but this was not on sale. Sorry. Okay. Fyodor Pavlov Tarot. So we have the box that is matte with gilding over it. I always love that contrast of matte and shiny. US Games, this is copyright this year, I do believe. It says May 2022, I believe. Does it have the retail? It doesn't. It was like $46, and I think I got it for $42. Look how nice the box is. They just do this extra little design element that's nice. And, the lid doesn't go all the way down. I just unboxed that Intuitive Night Goddess deck where the lid came down past the box. Very strange. All right. Captivating artist Fyodor Pavlov pays tribute to the seminal Smith-Waite Tarot deck. Thank you for calling it Smith-Waite. Imagery, by creating a hand-painted tarot deck in watercolor and ink that is informed by his personal queer and trans experiences. The result is a tarot deck that is familiar and timeless while exploring new and diverse representations of gender, sexuality, and culture. Pavlov artfully introduces queer and non-binary Okay, here we go. Slow down, Luna. Pavlov artfully introduces queer and non-binary identities while staying true to the canonical tarot meanings. Includes 78 gilded edge cards with color-themed suits and a 176-page illustrated hardcover book. So this deck, to me, the reason it really made me go for it, aside from the fact that it is just stunningly beautiful, is that it represents the evolution of our craft. We go from, these Eurocentric white decks, and now we've begun to see some diversity, and now we are expanding into more often seeing gender fluidity in decks, and I am totally down for it. Look at this. Hardcover book. You guys, isn't it gorgeous? So nice. And yes, it's 2022. Introduction, majors, minors, separate chapter for each of the suits, and then spreads and about the artist. Spent 5 years working on this deck, researching the history and imagery of the cards, conceptualizing my own versions and interpretations, then committing all this information to paper in this guidebook. He says, throw it in the fire and do whatever you want. I don't want to belabor this introduction, but I do want to say that a great deal lot of love and care, but not editing and proofreading, went into this deck. I hope it treats you well and brings you insight and inspiration. He talks about reversals, and he does talk about gender. Let's see. There's a pervasive reliance on a narrow cis and heteronormative binary gender representations and roles in many tarot decks and interpretation texts, and there's a grammar issue there too. At any rate, though most people agree that archetypically masculine and feminine aspects of the card's meanings can apply to people of any gender and of any sexuality, there is still a dichotomy at work. that feels untrue and incomplete to me. This model is something I tried to address in my own deck by switching the genders of certain cards, introducing non-binary identities, and including as many queer elements as I could into my imagery, while staying true overall to the canonical tarot meanings. Then he talks about the Waite-Smith deck. Then he has Gratitude. Let's read a little bit about the author, the artist. Fyodor Pavlov. Oh, he's got a little self-portrait there. That's nice. Fyodor Pavlov is a queer transgender Russian emigre and longtime New Yorker. Okay, so this person knows the cost and the limits on freedom for trans people. The intersection of all these complex identities informs his work as an artist. Working primarily through the medium of watercolor and ink, he maintains a strong portfolio focused on multicultural motifs of history, queer sexuality, and esoteric occultism. His goal is to create images that tell stories and contextualize queer identity in a past where it always existed, and reimagine it in a society liberated from suppression. He creates art that brings new life to the past for contemporary audiences and evokes a world in which the past is present, the present is queer, and gender is fluid. We have a beautiful ribbon pull, gilding, okay. Is there a zip thing? No, there isn't. It wouldn't matter if there was, because anytime there is one, I open it a different way before I notice it. Okay. Anyhow, the experience I had watching unboxings, and I did watch just a couple of flip-throughs, is I got the sense that this is already one of my favorite decks before I've even gotten it into my hands. Let's look here. So we have just a different color there, little image in the bottom. This seems to be pretty sturdy. I do believe this was an indie deck first. All right. Gilding. Let us. Wait. Oh, this is linen. Oh, these okay. The thing that is striking me first we got gilding on the back in the little stars, but the gilding on the side, these cards are much lighter stock than you usually get when there's gilding, and I'm impressed. US Games, I can't wait to see how it shuffles. All right, here we go. I closed my curtain and I took the brightness down on the camera so that you could see the images clearly. Let me see if I can adjust a little bit more here, because they seem to sort of wash out. All right. There are other channels that have flip-throughs where you might get a higher resolution or, better color. So check those if these are looking too washed out to you. So we see the Fool here, and we see this art style, which is pen and ink and then watercolor washes. They're beautiful, they're graceful. His art style is gorgeous. Very talented, obviously. So the Fool has a little cat nipping at their heels. Are we male? Are we female? Yes. And now the Magician. Oh, I love how stern he looks. And the long robe. So this is the lemniscate is there on the ribbon, and it is certainly recognizable in traditional imagery. Here's the High Priestess from the front of the box. There's a very Art Nouveau lyrical quality to the smoke and the line, and Art Nouveau did that pen and ink thing with color wash, and I absolutely adore it. It's my favorite art style. So yeah, another reason this is going to the top of the list. Oh, look at her. Look at her. Okay, look at her. Any woman who has had a baby knows what they're looking at here. This is a woman, and I mean, even though she's got a corset on, when you're pregnant, when a person is pregnant, colors change. And I love, love, love her rosy ass nipples. They are beautiful. That's one of the things that happens is our coloring, our pigmentation gets a lot darker during pregnancy, and that just makes her look so juicy and fertile to me. Now, it's a little odd that she's holding an actual physical heart there. There's water pouring. I mean, is it her heart? Is it somebody else's heart that she's torn out? I know. But just the image itself is absolutely beautiful, juicy, and luscious. Here's the emperor standing. The emperor is usually so parked, and the empress too. She sits, but the emperor is usually just kind of sitting there, and you get that sense of the buck stops here. Which is one of the ways I interpret the emperor, is that you are the ultimate authority and the buck stops with you. But this shows him standing with one foot coming forward, so it looks like he is on the move and taking action, and that's so cool. Here's the Hierophant, definitely a priestly looking guy. So just the angle really brings something new to this image. Look at the intersex representation here. We have, so if we look at the tops, we see female, male. If we look at the bottoms, we see the sexes reversed. It's amazing. It really is. Look at the radiant heart that's dripping there. But I just love that idea of cross, not a dividing line. This on one side, this on the other. It's both and. Just frickin' amazing. And here's the Chariot. Oh, look. So strong. So very strong, that pose, And the cape billowing in the wind, showing the motion. That is fabulous. Here's strength. Look at the black wolf. This was another image that made me go, yes, gimme, gimme, gimme. And that is because I have had a repeating theme from childhood of wolves in my dreams. They used to be terrifying. In fact, I had a dream when I was really little, maybe 8 years old or so, and it was more of a vision than a dream. But in it, I was fighting a black wolf, and it was terrifying. And I stabbed him in the chest, and he was like overcharged. It was just really wow. But that wolf, I have internalized now. It's definitely one of my my animals. I've got lion here and wolf here, and I adore it. So I take this image very personally, looking at taming the wolf rather than fighting the wolf. Here's the Hermit. Ooh, looky. She's got a hood and a crow on her shoulder. So again, I love the changing of gender roles in these cards. There's the crook with a lamp on it. So we get this very shepherdessy, Red Riding Hoodie sort of vibe there. Here's the Wheel of Fortune. There is a lot of nudity in the deck. That bothers me not at all. Look at the 4 elements. There's the air, the water, the fire, the earth. I love the way those are depicted rather than the 4 fixed signs. So there are some ways in which the Waite-Smith imagery is kind of closed unless you know. So unless you know the symbols that belong with each of the fixed signs, you're not going to know why there's a bull and a man and an eagle and a lion in the corners. But here we have the elements very simply, graphically, and accurately depicted. And here's Justice. Again, the strength of the image, that very Art Nouveau, Alphonse Mucha kind of style. And it says, Justitia sum quic Distribust. To the book we go. I want to know what that says. Okay, here she is. What does it say? Please mention it. Please mention. The banner wrapped around her is emblazoned with a quote from Cicero: "Justice renders to everyone his due." So that's a statement of karma. Everybody gets what they deserve, right? We reap what we sow. Everybody gets the consequences of their actions. The Hanged Man. I love, again, the dynamic quality. So if you look at it next to a Waite-Smith deck, and this was my problem with Waite-Smith from the very beginning, is that kind of flatness of the images and the staticness. Even when there's an image of something moving, they still have that static, locked quality to them. This is very dynamic. It's very fluid. You can see kind of muscles flexing. And this reminds me, was it Saint Sebastian, I think? I'm not sure about the upside down part, but there was a Saint Sebastian who was supposedly killed by Native Americans, and there's an image of him pierced with a bunch of arrows, and that's what it reminds me of. So it goes further than, usually the Hanged Man it looks like a ritual thing where the person has submitted to this hanging upside down in order to achieve a state. But this dude being pierced with arrows, there's a whole nother layer there. I think of the pain that goes along with it. Here's death. Look at this. Look at this person kissing, embracing death. I really like that statement. There's an hourglass, there's a crown. But that statement of embrace it, because this is where we all go. We will all go there. Absolutely. The one thing we know for sure. Here's temperance. And there's still androgyny, even with a beard. Beautiful wings. Here's the devil. Ooh, now we see some real color. So look at the color palette. This has got kind of a purple. That's got the blue. It seems that each card where color is really visible, it's a monochromatic. You've got the color just accenting the image. Look at the devil. Intense and amazing. Look at the crotch that's like a tiger face. A little allusion to the vagina dentata. Look at the serpent. Look at the wings, the horns. Oh, I love it so much. And again, look how dynamic. You can see these people writhing. And they're kind of shiboried. And here's the tower with that dark gray blue. Again, dynamic, very attractive images. And the size of the cards is good too, because you get a good size image. They definitely have an impact visually. There's the star. Look at this. This and the High Priestess are my card. Rather than just the moon, the enigmatic moon shining, look at the face. Look at her kind of smiling down on that black wolf and the owl. Oh my goodness, I have to do a little bit of a Fire of Azrael just in celebration while I'm looking through. That is beautiful. And here's the sun. Also with a very expressive face. The eyes are really expressive. Bright sunny colors, more androgyny. Here's judgment, people rising. And look at her. She is luscious. She is juicy. And I want to take a look here because I don't think I'm not seeing any racial diversity. Well, I guess here this person is darker skinned. But that seems to be the only one. This person she looks like she has a tan. I don't know that I would make her non-white. So we do have some brown people. And we do have a person of size, and she is deliciously of size and accurately of size. But she's the first one, so we'll see how we go. Definitely you get the idea of abundance and overflowing and juiciness and cornucopia and all that. Here's the Ace of Wands. Look at the fire. The 2. We're changing the imagery here. We don't see people like looking out over. But he's got all these scrolls and plans and the globe here and the books. It definitely gives the idea of someone who has achievement. And we do have kind of a Middle Eastern looking dress there. And now we see the ships going. Now this is good because with my original Waite-Smith and then with the Hanson-Roberts, it shows the ships in the water, but you can't really tell which way they're going, and I would always interpret as ships coming in. But here you clearly see the ships going out. So we have the dude here, but it's a different dude. But anyway, we have the dude here planning, and then executing. Off you go. Then we have the 4, showing the celebration with the dancing nymphs. And here we have the 5. And we have both men and women duking it out. Here's the 6. This is an interesting image. And again, it makes it more dynamic. He's holding the wand, but then there's these other ones crossing kind of above his head. It kind of reminds me of certain military weddings and things where they have people in uniform standing along the sides and making like an arch with swords. Here's the 7. Again, so dynamic. You shall not pass. Audentis Fortuna Iwat. Gotta look that one up. It means fortune favors the bold. And now I'm thinking of Buffy. There's the 9 of Swords, and I like that it's so very clear that we have someone wounded. Interestingly, that the Waite-Smith, they have like a bandage coming over the eye, and it was totally lost on me for so very long that this was a wounded person. Oh, and we have a person who has lost a limb as well. There's another layer of representation. And here's the 10. So we see this person carrying this whole weight, but not struggling with it. The Page being a minstrel, and we do have, images of darker skinned people. The Knight, look at the hair blowing. The Queen. I love the ermine tails and the King. Very strong, strong images. The Ace of Cups with the waves splashing out of that cup. There's just so much movement. Here's the 2. Look at this. We usually have clearly female, clearly male coming together. Here we have so much fluidity and ambiguity, and I really like it. And the 3 is a maypole. That brings in an aspect of fertility. So 3 of Cups has always been one that can, along with other cards, denote a pregnancy. The Queen of Pentacles, the Empress, even the 9 of Pentacles, the Ace of Cups, the 3 of Cups, the 6 of Pentacles can also denote a bonus in the physical. So I love that the maypole is depicted here because that is a fertility ritual. And here's the 4. And you can see him just going, The 5, look at the position, that posture of loss, but so elegant and flowing. And here's the 6. So usually you see 2 children. And here we definitely see, look at the beard, so we have an adult and a child. And I like that because it gives more of the idea of memory. When you have just 2 children, one child offering a cup to another, what does that bring up in your mind? Sharing, maybe? But with this, it's someone older passing down to someone younger, memory, tradition, heritage, and legacy. And then here's 7. This is the first time I've seen an actual Far East Asian person in kimono. Clearly she's, instead of looking at the cups, they're kind of coming out of her mind, and that adds another really interesting layer. Here's the 8. Look at all the water rushing. So this also, instead of just walking away, where we've got the cups here and the person is walking away from them, they're still going through. So, and with the water rushing and stepping over running water, it gives me the idea that you are moving through a very intense emotional period. And here's the 9. So again, instead of a dude just sitting there like this and all the cups behind him, we've got a table laid and all the cups down either side of the table. So we can imagine other people being there, and that he's going, a toast. Here's the 9. So we have looking like a Mexican style dress. Babies. There's 2 women here and children. I like that. I really like that. And you could err and say, it's just the women taking care of the children, or we can broaden our minds even more and say they are wives. They are each other's spouses, and these are their children. It's beautiful. Here's the page. Look at the artist's tools. The knight, stopping to give his horse a drink, caring for his horse. Here's the queen. Yep, so here's another pregger. Look at her. Abundant fecundity. Here's the king. He looks definitely genderqueer. The soft side of masculinity, the fluid side of masculinity. Here's the Ace of Swords. So strong. The 2. Oh, I like that. So instead of this with a blindfold, his arm is actually blocking his sight, and then we still have the swords crossed. So it's kind of, wow. I mean, I could go on. I'm not going to. I'm going to stop myself. Here's, look at that. The 3 of Hearts. I mean, you can almost physically feel that card. Here's the 4. And here you get the idea of someone who's kind of been on the watch, and they've petered out and fallen asleep on the watch. The 5. And stay out. Yep, definitely been a battle. Here's the 6. Only one person in the boat. But look at the water rushing. Like I said, there's so much movement. Here's the 7. I like kind of buried in the cloak. Okay, wait till they wake up and find all their swords gone. There's the 8. She definitely seems a little more bound, not by her own choice, than the usual 8 of Swords. It looks like her hands are bound. So this isn't a case, usually the 8 of Swords are like, if you just take off the blindfold, you'll see the way out. This one, not so much. There's the 9. Look at the things coming after him. Such little things that are added, and they add so much. And here's the 10. Even though he is pierced with 10 swords, he's still attempting to rise. There's the page. I love the hair. The knight. And I gotta say, I haven't seen any more body images of size unless it's pregnancy. Let's stop here. There's another deck, the Ethereal Visions Tarot, the Luna edition. the world card there is a woman of body size, and that's the only one in the deck, and it seems to be the same case here. So that tells me that even though we are really embracing gender fluidity and gender queerness, we still have not really embraced body size and stepped out of that prison of body image as far as tarot goes. So there's the Knight of Swords, definitely dynamic. Here's the Queen. Ooh, the Queen is in armor. And there's the King. I want these outfits. I want this artist to design clothes for me. Maybe divine clothes for me. There's the coins. The 2. Ooh, I love the balancing on the coin. It's kind of an Indian dress. Here's the 3. There's this idea of instruction. The 4. Ooh, see, again, there's just a little thing that really adds to the image. So not only is she holding all these coins, but she's hiding them, hoarding and hiding them away. That can bring up some ideas. You know, there's a lot of shame around money sometimes. So fascinating. Here's the 5. And those gates look shut, shut, shut. Downfall is the word I'm seeing there. Here's the 6. The 7 with the plow. I like the plow. The plow, and it's like he's plowing up these coins. Here's the 8. Look at the strength. And more Middle Eastern vibe there with the person. Look at this woman. There's the 9 and the 10. This seems Native American to me, Middle America maybe. Here's the page. Planting seeds. The Knight. So again, we have images of ability differences. I'm glad that it's here, not in the Strength card, as is usually a depiction of someone using a wheelchair. The Queen. And I like that it's the Knight too, showing that even if you don't have use of your legs, you can still be a fighter. The Queen. You can still stand for something. And there's the King. Okay, let's give it a quick blessing. And then I think today I will go beyond just a 3-card reading, because this deck I expect to really be talking to me. And we'll see about getting a kind of a fuller message. And by air and fire, may you be purified and charged. By water and earth, may you be blessed and made whole. And by the sound of the bell, may you be purified by spirit. Awaken, awaken, awaken. As my computer decides to go. All right. Now, guides and guardians, allies and ancestors, thank you so much for being here. I invite you in now to be a bridge for me and to whisper in my ear, or holler if necessary. And I offer you fresh water, and I offer you the fire of Azrael, and I ask that the spirit of divination awaken in this deck. All right, let's see, I want to put out my sage so I don't end up coughing. All right, now, the moment I have been waiting for. These are linen finish cards, and So see, hey, every publisher on the planet, it is possible to do gilding on cards that are not so thick and sharp that they slice your fingers open. It is possible to have a beautiful deck with cardstock that is so flexible and shuffleable, and the cards are large. They slide against each other so easily. I got to do it again, sorry. This linen, I have several decks with the linen finish, and I have to say it is my absolute favorite. I think these are plastic cards. I'm not sure I'm right about that, but you know, they're evenly cut, they're brilliant, they're beautiful, they're easy to handle, they're easy to shuffle. Thank you, US Games, for knowing what people do with your products. Okay, so now I want to look at the readings they recommend here, but I may just do my usual 9 card, my standard, spreads, 171. And this is a hefty book, and you see you have color images of the cards. And, I mean, you look at the Queen of Coins. So you get a good deal of information. You get 2 pages for each of the minor arcana. And the majors, you get more. No, you get 2 pages. Everything has 2 pages. At least, look at the Moon's got 3. So, back to spreads. Okay. We have Celtic Cross, Relationship Spread, which is 7 cards, the Identity Spread, and the Possibilities Spread. Okay, we might do the possibilities just for a test. Where am I now? What will expand my horizons? What can I learn from my current situation? What can I learn from others? I think I can use that for a collective reading. So, of course, you know, immediately I'm walking back what I said I was going to do. Oh, well. So I'm going to tell the deck that we want to do the possibilities spread, 4 cards. So please tell us collectively what our possibilities are from where we are whenever we're watching this. Send your vibes here. That was just one more is what they were telling me. And then we take off the top. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. 2, 3, 4. And how wonderful that we get a major, 2 minors, and a court. I love it when decks really show their whole thing. Okay, so again, this was the first card is Where Am I Now? And we've got the Emperor. And so I'm going to try to open my mind to make this a reading for the collective. Here is, I'm going to read the whole thing here. My Emperor is obviously inspired by the Romans. I was thinking of Hadrian when I settled on this design. So the author is giving us specifics about the choices they made. Yay! I kept a lot of the traditional symbolism of the Smith-Waite Emperor. He embodies conventional binary masculinity, though he is by no means limited by it. The imagery of Ares and war is present in the ram's head on his breastplate, and the pedestal he stands upon symbolizes his elevated station, so he's on a pedestal. He wears a victor's wreath. A lot of the imagery of the emperor I have seen is severe to the point of barrenness. Yes, I agree. Not the fertility, because, you know, there's male and female have a role in fertility and creation of life, and usually they show that with the female and only kind of like the warlike qualities with the male. He embodies social law and structure, power, stability, and force. However, I feel that all those aspects can be tempered in the emperor with intelligence and restraint, and I wanted to include indications of this in my portrayal of him to add more nuance to his meaning in the readings. Yes, he is armed with a sword, but its blade is pointing down at rest. He can use force, but he can also judge when it's necessary to do so. The laurel wreath he wears can symbolize both victory and subsequent peace and security. In his left hand, he carries a scroll. That would be his right hand, but another symbol of peace, law, and knowledge, and a written testament of the emperor's power. So yeah, law, saying that he is beholden to the law as well. As in many similar depictions, he rises above jagged mountains, but the rocks are not entirely barren. The distant trees symbolize the potential for growth and prosperity that comes from intelligent, compassionate, and steady governing. The color choice harkens back to the Empress, but where hers is softer in hue, the Emperor's red is bolder and more solid. Yes, the Empress had a very rosy red about her. What I'm not seeing here is any reverse meanings, even though the minors have it. Okay, I'm going to go back to the introduction here. Interesting that the introduction kind of comes before. No, it doesn't. All right, never mind. Forget it. Okay, some people consider reversals indispensable while others are loath to read them. I do both. I keep my deck in the upright order out of persnickety personal preference. Me. But I trust the clues of the spread to tell me how to interpret the cards when I read them. I do not believe that any one tarot card is inherently positive or negative, or that reversals alter the meanings to such a degree that reading with them is essential. Yes, I like that statement, because I have always felt that way too, that a reversal, whenever reversals show up in readings, I will say upright, this card means blah, blah, blah. The reversal shows that either that is being held back or is needed, or, something like that. But the reversed meaning springs from the upright meaning. The images of the tarot cover an incredibly wide expanse of negative, positive, and neutral experiences, and each card in and of itself holds a positive and negative connotation. For some cards, I explicitly outline reversed interpretations if I feel strongly about them, so for some cards. With others, the interpretations are more nuanced, and the upright and reversed meanings are more tightly interwoven. Reading the tarot is an intuitive practice above all else, so in my deck, I have done my best to illuminate all sides of the cards to enable the querent to read in a way that makes the most sense to them. Bravo. Okay, so where are we now with the Emperor? We are in a place of ownership. They talk a lot about the choices they made. But here is where we need to, I think, reckon with where the buck stops. You need to come to a realization of your responsibility for your own life and what's going on in it, and how you respond to it, and what you choose to do with it. And it says that the whole range from force, intelligence, law, karma, being on your feet, moving forward, it really is a card of empowerment and authority. So these are the questions we're looking at. And you can, expand that to a global level with questions of war and dominance and who is, the leader and what leadership means and all that kind of stuff. Personally, I would say that it is time to be reckoning with your own sense of authority, your own sense of empowerment, decisions. Emperor always talks about decisions to me too, that there is a decision to be made and it's your decision, but you also have to be aware of who else your decisions will affect, because the Emperor is above all, and when he makes a decision, it affects everybody. This is a reminder it affects him too, but we also need to think about the decisions we make and who is affected by those decisions. All right, second position is what will expand my horizons, and we have the Two of Wands here. All right, if we are to continue with the notion that the Ace of Wands is the beginning, an auspicious symbol for the momentum to take action, then the Two of Wands is its natural follow-through. The figure in the card may be a merchant, an explorer, or a creative person of some kind. He is laying the groundwork and harnessing inspiration given by the ace to lay his plans. He is not charging blindly, but approaching his future thoughtfully and with care. He reminds us that while inspiration and the drive to pursue our goals may be telling us to act right now, it is good to also take care and have a plan rather than set out blindly. We must invest thought and work in success rather than simply hope for it. Thus, the Two of Wands is a card of new endeavors, of discovery and decision-making, of creative pursuit and hope for the future. So, yeah, each of these minors is getting one page. So it kind of continues on from the Emperor. We are talking about making decisions. We're talking about making plans. And the question here is, what will expand my horizons? Making a plan. Thinking ahead. Knowing the lie of the land. Knowing what is in your, under your sphere of influence. So the Two of Wands, dominion, is one of the key words, I think, in the Thoth. It's called dominion. And it talks about what is under your domain, what is under your power. And sphere of influence just says, these are the things that I can influence, and then some things we have no control over. So where we can expand our horizons is by recognizing exactly what we do have an influence over, what is under our direct control, and then planning what we want to do with those things, making decisions. It's time to make decisions. I know that we are going through in my household a big purge of these are things that I no longer want to be burdened with, and it's big decisions, but there's a plan behind it as well. All right, the next one. What can I learn from my current situation? And here we have the Queen of Cups. So now we get to see how court cards are presented. So again, I'm remembering, what can we learn? What can we learn? Broaden horizons, learn from the situation, learn from others. Okay, learn from the situation. The Queen of Cups to me is one of the most emotionally intuitive and sensitive cards. Absolutely. She's one of the ones, along with the Hermit, the High Priestess, the Moon, that represent psychic ability to me. The Queen of Cups to me is, okay, she represents the energy of compassion, creativity, love, and care. She reminds me of the star in her gentle contemplativeness. She's not simply still, she is stable. Rather than being, well, she's the water part of water, so she is very comfortable in the watery realm. She is stable there. Rather than being overwhelmed by or brimming over with emotion, she is part of the flow. That's why I wanted to put her in a natural landscape and one that's reminiscent of my star card. The Queen of Cups is like a fairy tale queen, ethereal, kind, and mysterious. For this card, I drew stylistic inspiration from the aesthetes, pre-Raphaelites, and symbolists in how I portrayed her. I'm also noticing that he didn't really describe the images that thoroughly in the Two of Wands. Okay. She also always makes me think of motherhood. Her caring and creative nature is visually expressed in the fact that she is literally pregnant, with ideas, with deep feeling, with some kind of deeply intimate endeavor. She's in control of this endeavor, but it's a gentle and caring kind of control. She is leading by being a part of it. Reversed, the Queen's emotions run unchecked. So here we do have a reversal. Thank you, deck, for representing every bit of yourself to me. Reversed, the Queen's emotions run unchecked. She's capricious, unpredictable, volatile. Her emotions bleed like an open wound. Ugh, the writing here is really good too. And when an injury is this grievous, a simple bandage may not be enough. The Queen of Cups wants us to get to the source of the problem, because only by identifying it can we treat it correctly. Now, the category of what can I learn from my current situation, we can learn how to deal with our emotions. We can learn what happens when we process them and approach from a place of being very familiar with the emotional territory and being in control of our own emotions, or being responsible for our own emotions, comfortable with them. So what we can learn, the situation we're in right now pitches us into this emotional territory, and it is ours to deal with the Emperor coming underneath. He's the authority. The emotions are above here, but it's saying we need to really understand that our responsibility for our emotions stops with us. It's up to us to process them. And the Emperor, too, I think, can talk about drawing some boundaries with that sword. If we're having, constant insults from the outside to our emotions, then we need to set some boundaries and lay down the law. All right. And the last one, what can I learn from others? And here we have the Five of Wands. I can't wait. Very interesting. I always think of this card as one of playful competition. Of course, the tonal interpretations of it can vary, but the struggle depicted between the five people never struck me as harmfully aggressive. And it doesn't look aggressive here either. You can see the playfulness now that I look. A little competition is healthy. It's good to fight for what we want. There is something of the rite of spring in how I see these characters, bare, free, and excited in their play fighting, wild, unfettered, and joyous. Reversed, the card, and it's interesting too because if you look at numerology, the 5 represents a crisis of some sort, and generally the 5s of each suit shows some sort of conflict or crisis. So you've got this one, you've got the 5 of Cups where it's showing loss, you've got the 5 of Swords where it's abuse of power and a battle that's happened, and the 5 of Pentacles which shows being destitute and shut out. So it's interesting to have a reinterpretation of this as something friendly and good-natured and not strife. Reversed, so we get reversal here again, the card can show us this hunger for action and physical play. The card can show us this hunger for action and physical play turn nasty and violent. There are grammar issues here. I've read several sentences so far in the very little that I've read of the book that are not grammatically correct. So what we want to say, the card can show us that this hunger for action and physical play can turn nasty and violent. Whatever. The combatants turn on each other in earnest, abusing the potent fire energy of the wands. We must take care not to lose sight of consideration for our opponents when they are deserving of it, and not to let the excitement and thrill of the fight turn to bitterness and hostility. Very good meaning there. And I think, too, if it's what we can learn from others, we can learn how to fight fair, number one. We can learn how to exchange ideas back and forth, kind of spar, without it turning into a blood battle, without there having to be an absolute winner and an absolute loser. So what we learn from the situation is how we move through situations and deal with our emotions. What was that one again? How we can expand our horizons is by planning. Looking at what is under our sphere of influence, planning, we claim our power and our authority in our own lives. We take responsibility for our emotions, and then we learn how to engage with other people in a way that may be a little contentious, but not brutal. Wow. Okay, they're telling me to look at the bottom. We have the 6 of Cups. Let's look at this. Interesting that we get, wow. Check this out. There's 4 pages for the 6 of Cups. And look at the 7 of Cups. They talk about every image that's in there, all the cups and what they stand for. So we do get kind of a wide variety here, or a wide range from 1 or 2 paragraphs for a card up to 4 pages. This may be the most personally intimate card I have made for the deck. Okay, there's a reason they wanted me to see this card then. And it's a little funny that, of course, it's the suit of cups that has brought up such emotional introspection in me. Most of the cards have some kind of personal hook, something that I relate to in their meaning. It's a narrow, focused lens that helps me see the whole of the card and interpret it as I wish. And I'll be entirely honest, some cards I feel a lot more deeply than others, and some I understand a lot better, while others I'm still learning about even after having painted my own version. I totally agree. The 5 and the 7 of Swords were cards that just baffled me for so very long. And even now, there are cards that I can speak lectures on, and cards that are just like, okay, this stands for this, but I've had to kind of artificially apply that meaning. Okay. But the 6 of Cups had me stuck. None of the representations I saw really spoke to me. I knew more or less what the card was meant to represent: childhood memories, nostalgia, dwelling on the past, innocence, naivete. But I had a difficult time connecting with it. In that, I think I discovered my own personal block. Yes. So sorry for all the asides, but when you get a new deck, I think it's really important to spread it out and pull all the cards that you're really attracted to, or go through, and also set aside the cards that you either feel absolutely disconnected from or that you have a strong aversion to. There's a lot to be learned there. Like so many people, but especially queer and trans people, I have a complicated relationship with my childhood. Being an immigrant is another factor. I came to the U.S., so maybe that's why there's some grammar things. So yes, all is forgiven. I came to the U.S. when I was 13, and my childhood was quite literally left behind with all the physical attributes of it that couldn't fit into the 2 suitcases I was allowed to take on the plane. I have a tendency to overthink things in my life, also me. But when it comes to the past, I tend not to dwell and to move on as a kind of safeguarding mechanism. I don't block things out, and I do not repress. They're there, and I try to see them for what they are. But I've always prided myself on being able to just set things down and leave them there while I kept going forward, because I thought this was a sign of strength and maturity. Sometimes it served me well, other times not so much. Right around the time that I was trying to parse all this out and come up with some kind of idea for the card, one of my favorite witches and tarot readers, Angeliska Polacek, wrote a beautifully insightful series of posts, first on Instagram, footnote 1, and then on her blog, footnote 2, about the practice of finding and caring for your inner child. Her writing touched me on a profound level, and I went digging through my memory box, which still houses the very few things I saved from when I was a child in Russia. And you know what? I'm not going to go through this whole thing. So he talks about the impact of what was in that box. And then we get footnotes to Instagram. So there are URLs here to Instagram and to her blog. So you can go and read the things that affected the author and artist here. So, naivete, innocence, I mean, and this is, looky, it's him. Looky. It is him. Here. Look at this handsome, talented, wonderful young man. There we go. Okay, you guys. I want to know what you think. Yes, this is instantly one of my favorite decks. That's all there is to it. It's beautiful. I mean, the stock, everything about it. I can't think of anything. I bitched about grammatical things, but man, is that ever a small criticism, considering this person is not a native English speaker. Temperance just flew out. So all things in balance. Please let me know what you think of this deck, and it's worth it. If you can wait, check US Games, get on their mailing list. So if you get something in your inbox that there's like a blanket discount on their site, you might get it for a discount. As I said, I purchased it on Amazon. It was about $42, I think, and then some tax. But ooh-wee, this is a good addition to the collection. I'm very happy to have it. Oh my God, we're at an hour. Thank you for hanging with me. Like, subscribe, and do all that kind of happy crappy, and I will see you next time. Till then, this is Luna. Blessed be.